Tonight on the Goblin's Corner.
Adventuring guilds.
That's how we roll. 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 That's how we roll.
Welcome to the Goblin's Corner. My name is Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And tonight,
We're doing Adventuring Guilds.
that's right. We've done several guilds in the past, and if you haven't listened to them, you should go back and listen to them because they're awesome.
Sure.
Mage guilds is a good example of that.
Yes.
Criminal organizations is another.
Indeed.
And probably another one that I don't remember.
I don't know if this is the third or the fourth.
Yeah, see, we've done too many episodes at this point. That's what happens when you do over 50.
Dun dun.
Dun dun. But tonight we're going to talk about adventuring guilds because why not?
Right.
It's going to be fun. But before we get to that,
We have a question of the week.
so hit me.
All right. So I'm going to go on theme, as I sometimes do, in the vein of Mage Guilds, the episode.
Okay. Sure.
You're creating an adventuring guild. What is the name of the adventuring guild, and what's the emblem or the badge or whatever?
The name of the adventuring guild? It's going to have to be for coin.
Sure.
So the name's going to be Finder's Fee.
Okay.
So,
The Finder's Fee Adventuring Guild.
yes.
Okay.
And the emblem or logo of that is kind of a skull and crossbones in many ways, but instead of it's going to be the skull,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be biting onto a gold coin
Sure.
in its mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe like this way, vertically,
Sure.
just biting into a coin so you can see the coin. And it'll probably have like a wand and a sword crisscrossed.
Okay.
So it looks very much like a pirate flag in
Yeah.
some respects.
Imagine that. Shocking.
But that would be my adventuring guild.
So we're in a similar headspace.
Yours is money bent as well.
It is. I mean, it's an adventuring guild.
Well, they're mercenaries for hire.
Right. So mine would be the Good Gold Adventuring Guild.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a gold coin with a smiling treant on it.
Nice. Slightly happier, but
Yes.
still for coin.
Yes.
Okay, so
It's the difference between you being chaotic neutral and me being chaotic good.
fair enough. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, it's who we are. Let's be honest.
Yes, that's true. Are you chaotic good or chaotic neutral? Write to us. info@goblinscorner.com, or you can reach me, Eric@goblinscorner.com, or,
Me, Matt at goblinscorner.com.
and of course, you could find us on all the things.
So many things.
Dun dun dun. Lots of things.
All right.
But we're talking about adventuring guilds tonight.
Indeed.
And why would we talk about adventuring guilds, Matt?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. They can serve multiple story purposes in a game.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to set this up. If you've listened to the Mage Guild episode, we're going to set this up similar to that. So the first thing is, what's the purpose in the game? And that's both the purpose for the story and what is the purpose of the guild. Like, what are they up to?
Right. Sometimes you need, as a storyteller or even player characters, to come up with an adventuring guild for your game. Maybe you roll into town and you don't have a generator.
Right.
And so, for lack of that, you got to come up with something, got to make something up. Maybe you've written this beforehand. Either way, these qualifications that we've put together allow you to make an adventuring guild that has flavor.
Sure.
It's fun. Potentially story arcs for your characters, right?
Yep.
So purpose is a big thing.
And one of the fun things about having an adventuring guild is you've got a touchstone in every city that you want to have one. So if your players want to travel and still do heroic type things, they just travel to the next town, swing by the Good Gold, and
Yeah, they look at the bounty board or whatnot, grab the thing off of it. I'm thinking of the fairy tale cartoon, which you haven't seen. But they take something off the bounty board, go kill that mage, right? Or go fight that monster. How
Sure.
cool is that? Easy peasy. Or it could be more complex. Depends on how you run your game and your campaign.
And, you know, in smaller towns, they might have bounty boards, but in larger towns, they might have actual buildings and what have you.
It might be very bureaucratic. Maybe you're assigned according to your specialization. How cool is that as well?
Sure.
That's also cool. A lot of cool things.
Well, and it also allows it's a second form of leveling up, right? Not just gaining new powers and all of that, but rising through the ranks of an organization could be a secondary method of promotion for characters.
Yeah. So it might be a form of loot as well, or experience.
Sure.
Prestige and so forth. So purpose is very important. Now you've got two purposes in a adventuring guild that we've written.
Right.
Story and organization.
So let's start with story, because that's
The
what
easiest,
we do.
That's what's first thing we wrote down. And again, there's a lot more to adventuring guilds than what we've come up with, but this is our basic research.
Sure.
And honestly,
it's how we do it.
it's how we do it, and it's enough to fit into this episode. If you want more than that,
Let us know.
let us know. First story purpose, a patron.
Sure.
That's an easy thing that an adventuring guild can serve as.
It's a place to get jobs and rewards.
You want to get some loot, go down to the adventuring guild, sign up for a job. You want to work for somebody on quests or whatnot, go down to the adventuring guild, sign up.
Sure.
It can be a safe zone for player characters.
Sure. It's a place where they can refresh, heal up, deal with diseases, poisons, what have you.
And it should be noted that this is something that players need in a story game, any type of campaign, because I've played a lot of games where you have no idea whether you're going to be able to cast Morden Kindness Private Sanctum and hang out for a little bit, or if you lay down your bedroll, you're going to get shivved by a goblin in the middle of the night. Now, sometimes
Sure.
that's fun to play, but
that's the difference between wilderness and civilization.
right. And sometimes characters need downtime. And this is an integral part of downtime or story arcs.
Sure. And speaking of it being an integral part of downtime, it can be a mechanical place. It can be a place for characters to gear up, collect information, network for, toys that they really want that aren't necessarily easy to find. But it could also be a place that has an alchemy lab, right?
Or a research lab for spells.
Yeah,
Or lore for a particular quest that they have.
sure. If I were an adventurer and I retired and opened an adventuring guild, it's going to have benefits so that people come to me so
Yeah.
that we all make money.
And to be fair, if that was true, what else is true? So if I've got an adventuring guild where people come together, they go on quests, they bring back stuff for money, they're going to collect stuff over the years that they may either sell to the guild,
Sure.
or you might have people who maybe the rogue can't thieve anymore
Yeah.
because he's lost an arm.
It
But
story-wise,
he can train other people though.
it's true, but it's also a great way to introduce a new character story-wise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. This cleric,
Just got back from a run.
Yeah.
Now she joins your party. There you go.
ta-da.
Bingo. Yeah, good place to meet, nice centralized location. It can also be an antagonist. So this could be a separate entity that is trying to accomplish specific goals. This is fun either if it's a rival adventuring guild
Sure.
from yours, and I'm thinking very Acquisitions Incorporated in this kind of mindset,
Yeah.
because that's where you actually run an adventuring guild. And how cool is that?
I would love to play an Acquisitions Inc. game.
We're running one. I'm just going to tell you, that's the next game I run.
Right on.
But also, it could be maybe a major adventuring guild that is in direct opposition to your player characters, either because maybe they asked to join and the player character said no, or
Sure.
they're at the same place at the same time. They're going through these mystic ruins to kill that lich, and the adventure guild's like, nah, we want to kill this lich, and now it's going to be a showdown.
There's $5,000 on the table and somebody wants it.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's all you can eat buffet at the Adventuring Guild, they want that and the magic ring, and
That's
they can't
right.
have it.
I mean, the other thing is what if they're working at cross purposes, right? Like, what if you have, in our example, I had a chaotic good based guild conceptually, and you had a chaotic neutral based guild conceptually.
Might have similar types of jobs they take, but the methodologies are slightly different.
Well, and what if it's my job to protect a ship and your job to liberate the goods of a ship?
Such a wonderful way of saying that. Jolly Roger and all.
Yeah.
Yes, we're liberating your goods, please.
They need to be set free.
Yes. So, antagonist is a great way to introduce an adventuring guild into a campaign or a story. Finally, on story arc at least, thematics.
And thematics are important, right? It's what brings color to your world and allows you to showcase specific parts of your story.
Window dressing.
Yeah.
And this may be a minimal window dressing, whereas they come to a new city and you have an adventuring guild. Here's the name of the guild. Bam, you're done. One and done. And if it's something like that, then don't write an entire story about your adventuring guild.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen our episode on city building, go back and listen to it because we talk about all this.
Yeah.
Don't write War and Peace when a pamphlet will do. But if they enter the adventuring guild and you explore a little bit more thematically, now you can build it on a particular trope. Maybe, and we'll have a bunch of examples at the end, but maybe something like a adventuring guild for spellcaster types.
Sure.
And they take magical jobs. There you go. How would that be flavored differently than an adventuring guild which is devoted mostly to martial character classes?
Well, and the other side of that is, what if it's like a labor pool, right? Our wizard just died. We're going to go down to the flaming sphere and grab a jobbing wizard.
Oh, we need an NPC that we can hire.
Freelance.
Yeah, get some freelancers. That is also an awesome idea as playing a freelance campaign because it could be episodic.
And if you've got players that maybe want to change characters or they're just like, I'm getting really tired of being a barbarian.
This is a great place to center this because I don't know about you guys, but Matt and I have been in positions where we've played a game. 6 months have gone by. 2 years have gone by in some
3
cases.
3 years have gone.
It depends. I mean, Rel took a long time. But we played one character all the way through. And it was fun.
Yeah.
We loved it. But I've got 30 build ideas that maybe I want to do a couple of quick runs on.
An adventuring guild would also be a great way to do one-shots for people who want to try out a bunch of different builds like you just suggested.
Or people who are new to the game.
Sure.
Maybe they want to play it a couple times, or maybe they're in town, they play a game or two, they bounce, right?
Sure.
They're on a different mission. Now we've come to organizational purposes as well. So we've gotten the story purposes. What is it organizationally in terms of fundamentals for your adventuring guild? A good example of that, let's say you have a group of adventurers.
Sure.
What are they trying to accomplish and why? And this is the group of adventurers that are either running the guild or working for the guild.
Right. You've got, fame, glory, fortune, just trying to do good in the world.
Yeah.
But don't want to starve while doing it.
What are the ideals that they have?
Sure. At their core, adventuring guilds are places for people to bring their problems, and adventurers will be dispatched to solve those problems and probably create a brand new set of problems because they're adventurers.
Yeah. I have a problem. I'd like you to dispose of this problem forcibly with a sword. You go in there, and because of your actions, you have probably fixed the problem, but created new ones.
Yes.
That is every adventure guild I've ever played with.
Yes. The cave, or the mine, has been ridded of kobolds. It is completely filled with acid, but there are no more kobolds.
Mm-hmm. We've escorted the patron back to the castle, but the paladin is dead. Just he fell into the mire. We had to step on him.
Sank and drowned.
Sank and drowned. There is, however, a frog paladin now that has taken his armor
and his hammer.
Yeah, the bullywug patron of the swamp.
All right.
So how does this work is what we're really asking.
Depending on where you're set up, right? Like if you're at a tiny little village that has a board, you probably just walk up to the board, nail a notice on it, and call it.
Yep. People come up, tear off a sheet, roll it up, do the job, bring the sheet back with the dead monster head, and say, pay me.
And that's less of a guild and more of a jobbing board, but
It's
The
like
concept
like a
still
bounty
stands.
board, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be, if it's a large-scale city, you've got a representative like a fixer who goes and gets you jobs, or a talent agent.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting where, again, going back to Ack Inc., but you have like almost like a talent agent that seeks out particular mages or rogues or whatnot. Your patron is very interesting. You're a Phalok. We have need of your particular services as a specialist.
Yep.
We can compensate you with X amount of gold per month and a delightful medical plan. Hey man, that's how it would roll, right?
Yep. We have dental.
So is it posted to a wall? Is it slipped under a door? Is it, messaged to you in the middle of a night by your mysterious fixer? How is money exchanged as well? That sort of thing.
Is it a dead drop? Is it a just come pick it up?
Or is it in person where people like later, here's a big sack of gold. I need you to do the following thing.
Yep. So why else might an adventuring guild exist in the world? Like under their own auspices, not for the purposes of the story. Maybe they just want to control the ebb and flow of adventurers in an area. Because if you've got 1,000 adventurers in a relatively small area, the prices are going to be rock bottom, right? Supply and demand.
Yeah. If there's a gold rush in town, you own a bank.
Yeah.
If there's a monster rush in town, you control the adventures, because then you don't have to adventure as much.
Sure. And if there's a dearth of monsters in the area because you just had 1,000 of them here, send them to other places.
Sure. And of course, going on the main adage, maybe just want to get paid.
Yeah.
It's owning an adventure guild or running an adventuring guild or being part of an adventuring guild as a player means a consistent source of jobs and money.
Right. And for the adventuring guild, it means a consistent cut of
jobs
everybody's
and money.
jobs and money.
Absolutely. Maybe it's a resource co-op. And I love this idea where resources are shared freely between the groups, ensuring a higher success rate for all.
Sure.
I'll give a good example of that, by the way, because I've thought of this. I am a wizard crafting a magic bracelet.
Sure.
Because I'm part of a guild, other people chime in to help me make this bracelet once a month. And I create it in a third or fraction of the time it would take me to make it by myself. Depending upon whatever game you're playing. I'm thinking D&D here, of course, but it could be other games.
Any game, right.
Any game. Because of that, I have to donate a month or a week out of, in between adventuring time as a player character to help somebody else make something.
Sure. And the other thing is it could literally turn into a swap meet.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm about to go hunt a red dragon and I've got a flaming sword, but Bob over there is hunting a white dragon and he's got a nice sword, we can just swap.
So the barter system exists. You mentioned this before. It could be a place where people can acquire stuff that they might not be able to acquire either legally in the town or just because it's hard to find. There may not be a magic mart in your city.
Right.
It may be the adventuring guild.
That may be the closest thing you can find to it.
Yeah, because you got your adventurers raiding tombs, finding lost quest objects. I'm pretty sure they might keep some of them.
Certainly.
And if nothing else, they'll probably sell the rest. Who are they selling them to? Obviously the people that need them.
The adventurers. Those are the people most likely to need them. It's also a great place for spellcasters to pick up new spells.
Yeah, because if they're inventing new spells to deal with situations or finding spells lost in caverns or whatnot, protected by drow with a heart of gold and so forth, or I don't know, going to different planes with skewed geometry and bringing back spells that turn people inside out, then someone might have a use for that.
I've got a use for that.
Turning someone inside out?
Yes.
Sure. I mean, that's dinner. Go.
Depending on what you
turn into, go up to a cow. Yeah. Bam, instant hamburger. Speedy. Yeah. What are some other examples in terms of organizational purpose?
So in your and I's example, right, it would be something more alignment based. So you're getting together and doing jobs and collecting jobs that automatically meet with our ideals. If I go here, I know the job that I'm picking up is not a job of questionable morality. Or in your case, you don't give a it's just an immediate job, which maybe has a higher price on it because you're doing things that are of questionable morality.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense here. And that's a really fun thing to play. And maybe this guild, when you hire this guild, it's their bond. Like they get it done. You can't undo it unless you pay them more to undo the job.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a bunch of freebooting, hard drinking pirates that they just want to have some fun and liberate you of all your ill-gotten gains or non-ill-gotten gains.
Right. Just all of your gains.
All of your gains. We want it all.
Yeah.
Like we just want to roll in it. Perhaps they act like a police force.
Sure.
And then this goes back to like the mercenary type stuff too. Adventuring guilds in many times might be hired by a kingdom to buttress their flailing guards, right? Or
Sure.
maybe you're in the middle of a war and the adventuring guilds, just kind of kicking back, drinking booze, and the king comes in and be like, "Look, I need you to help with this kingdom because it's bad for your business." Oh, that's a good point. And then everybody loads up for bear and begins to slay the rest of the army.
Yeah. Or the other way around, all of the police force, all the guards and everything have been sent to deal with the armies. And so your rogue goes to the criminal organizations and is like, "Look, guys, you got to cut this out, right? Like you're bad for everybody's business right now. Bring it down a couple notches, lay low for a little bit. Otherwise, they're going to start hiring adventuring groups to murder all of you. This is me solving the problem," in quotation marks.
And then again, maybe they're just angling for a good old-fashioned world domination game. Because if you fought the ancient dragon or the lich in the tomb, dealing with the city that you live in is small fry.
Right.
And at some point, the adventurer is going to get lazy and say, I've got this guild I want to form. I'm going to form it and just take over the rest of the city. Or I'm part of an adventuring guild and maybe I direct it towards that option.
One of the things you could think about from a moral standpoint, right, is if you're a good guy, you can fall into the good guy trap, which is
always
you have been saving people for so long that you start thinking that you know what's best and you know how to handle situations for people. So you've saved this town over and over and you're like, "Screw it. I'm the mayor."
Yeah. And if you're the mayor, it's so much easier to get work done.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to save every person in distress. You don't have to go and slay the monsters because you've already killed them all.
Well, and then, right, you start expanding your territory. So you grab the little village nearby so that you can help protect them.
Now you become the monster.
And you slowly expand your way out because you're doing what's best for everybody.
Now, what would happen if the goal isn't obvious in your campaign? Is there a mission statement for the guild? That's the first thing you want to ask.
Sure.
So you go to going back to the police state type of guild. If you have an adventuring guild that's maybe policing a city or whatnot, it may be a fairly obvious goal, right? Our goal is to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. We uphold the law here.
Yeah. But you might have a different reason depending upon the purpose. So, for example, research guild. What is that? What's their purpose? It could be researching a particular item, could be researching a multitude of items, or general research in whatever they want.
Or they could be building a library on how to deal with an entire zoology worth of creatures, right?
Lots of different things you can play with in that terms. There's all kinds of other options, and we're not going to list every single one of them, but here are a few that we think work really well for adventuring guilds.
Sure, we'll touch on a couple. A religious guild.
Okay, so that can be a adventuring guild where maybe everybody's a member of a church, and that could be a particular one religion or a bunch of religions.
Sure. Or it could be that the church is funding adventurers to do things that they need or want done.
They're sponsoring the adventurers guilds.
Yep.
And that could be fun because it may be that the particular religious organization can't fight some monsters because of moral obligations, but maybe their moral obligations don't keep them from paying other people to do it.
Sure.
That's a cool storyline. Like, well, we really think you should wipe out this monster set or these goblins that are living in the warrens beneath the mountain, but we can't do it. But we can pay you to do it.
Yes.
How do you deal with that? That's an interesting way to like play around with stuff. You could have one that's built around philanthropy.
Sure. They're just developing ways to better the lives of less fortunate people.
And this sounds nice. Matt's laughing because I put by hook or by crook.
Sure.
Because pirates can be good.
Sure. Robin Hood is another example of someone who was clearly a criminal, but generally speaking, the lives of the lowest class people were rewarded for
Yeah,
that.
they got better. You could have an adventuring guild that is devoted to mostly like recruitment, and this could be either recruitment for a particular purpose, like recruiting people for a war, or recruiting people to, maybe there's like a huge big bad or a horrible elder evil that's lurking beneath a dungeon, and the adventuring guild is based off of getting enough people to go down there to finally defeat that thing, because if it doesn't, then it's going to pop out of the earth and destroy the world.
Sure. Or maybe they're just recruiting exploration teams for a mysterious continent that was just discovered.
Yeah. Eberron.
Sure.
Or maybe they're recruiting a whole bunch of people just to get cash money.
Right.
Because cash money.
Right.
Speaking of which, it could just be something as simple as cash money.
Right. Simple. That's it. It's just money, goods, and because
let's be honest, if they're rolling into town and you come up with an adventuring guild and you don't have anything, it's based off a coin.
Yeah.
That's it. There you go. I kill monsters for coin. Toss a coin to your witcher. I mean, that's all you got to worry about. But you can make it more interesting than that if you try.
Sure. Let's talk about, now that we've covered the story aspects of it, let's talk about how they might operate.
So operational parameters here. This is going to depend on the particular purpose you originally come up with too.
Sure. And I know we've been mostly setting this in a fantasy style setting, but realistically, a Mr. Johnson
is an adventuring fixer.
Yeah.
Because the Shadowrunners are a bunch of adventurers that are doing jobs for money.
Exactly. So it's just so you know, you can literally reflavor an adventuring guild into any setting.
Well, there's Starfinder as well.
Yeah. There's literally the Starfinders Guild?
Yes, that's
or the Starfinder Society.
Starfinder Society is a gigantic organization. Go out, do stuff, explore, have fun, make some cash. They get a percentage.
Yep.
A couple of examples, again, merchant-based guilds or guilds based on making money. They might have a vast network for acquiring funds.
One way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, by hook or by crook, man. They might strong arm through the use of force to acquire money, so they might be bad or good, depends how you term strong arm.
Sure.
They might get into marketing, or they might sell illegal contraband, using the adventuring guild as kind of like a fence, right?
Yep.
Now, this is really interesting because that is a particular aspect of how a adventuring guild operates from a monetary aspect. But there's other ways that adventuring guilds can operate too.
Sure. I mean, they could be government-funded adventuring guilds.
Absolutely. So how does a guild acquire their cash? Some other options. How does a guild direct their orders? If they're religious,
then it could be whatever the code of the religion is, and they just give the order and expect it to get done, especially if they're the ones funding the group or adventuring parties.
Or you may have an adventuring guild, again, going back to like a merchant type guild, may have a particular code of honor or a code of conduct.
Sure.
What is that code of conduct? What is that when you're building? And by the way, all of these qualifications that we're kind of playing with can be added, subtracted, mixed around a bit as well.
Absolutely. A research or exploration-based adventuring guild might operate like a university.
Yep.
They just, you go out, you collect all this information. It basically gets reviewed by other experts. You've got You can get travel writs, and you'll probably have like a chain of command based off of tenured professors and stuff.
Yeah, you might have to come back. What have you discovered? I've discovered the following stuff. Cool. So
Does this check out?
how, and or even going on to like a basic adventuring guild, who researches the jobs? Does anybody do any intel before they take the missions?
Right.
So it could be
And-
something as simple as that.
And that would probably largely depend on your guild, right? If it's a religious order, yes, somebody definitely looks into the job.
If it's a free for all type of high booze and high swindling type of campaign, it's like, we'll let the adventurers sort it out.
Yeah, is there money? Yes. Is there a job? Yes. Okay, we'll take it.
The danger level increases with the amount of coin received, and that's the only method that you know that it's
It's the only
job.
research you need.
Yeah. If it's enough coin, anybody will do it. Oh, and you can also do political power as well.
Sure.
If it's an adventuring guild, how do they operate within the political spectrum, right? Maybe they're involved in local politics.
Sure.
Maybe they're not.
They're obviously going to have a public face versus secret missions that go on.
There's going to be some missions that adventuring guilds take that the local populace might be a bit distraught about. How do they handle that? Do they let it get out? Do they have people who's maybe a bunch of bards that are a marketing team that spin it in a particular direction?
It's Mission Impossible, man.
It
You'll
could be.
disavowed.
Yeah, maybe it's spies. Could be
Yeah.
secret missions, right? Maybe they're influencing other people in a country or government, the monarch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So for all of these different types, you've got all of these different qualities of how they operate, and you can mix and match them. If you know these qualities, then you can make a different, unique adventuring guild that isn't cookie cutter.
I think another thing, an episode we need to think about is jobs gone bad.
Oh, that's definitely going to be something we have to come up with. I love that. All right, we're going to talk a bit more about adventuring guilds, but we'll be right back.
After these messages.
You with the face. Do you like what we have to say?
Help our channel rise from the depths like the mighty Godzilla.
Please like and subscribe and ring the bell and do all of the necessary YouTube.
What he said.
If there are any topics you would like us to cover, goods or services you would like us to review, or if you would like to sponsor an episode, we would love for you to contact us at info@goblinscorner.com. See you there. And we're back.
Welcome back.
All right, so we're talking adventuring guilds, how to make one, how to make them interesting,
Yeah.
how to write stories around them, and we were just talking about how to make them organized, how to manipulate them in society, how to give them ideals, and how to give them ways to do contracts, take money,
Right.
and relieve other people of their money.
Sure. One of the things you have to think about when you're dealing with any type of organization, and for anybody else who's listened to the others of these series, you'll know, is scope.
Yeah, how big is it?
You need to know. Is it a small adventuring guild that basically is just one dude with his job board that deals with just the city?
Old Man Withers comes up on the mountain and he taxes his bounties to the board, and adventurers from miles over climb the mountain, swipe that piece of paper, and go down and promptly kill whatever he taxed aboard because he's got a lot of money. Or it could be a dude in a bar.
Yeah.
Or it could be a larger organization, citywide,
Sure.
countrywide, franchises,
Yes. Could be global.
Acquisitions Incorporated campaign.
Yep.
Again, messing with that again. Now, this will determine not just how it's organized, as we alluded to before the break, but also how it's more or less run from a day-to-day level.
So, like, is it a person in charge? Who's in charge in
Who's in
general?
charge? Yeah. Like, is it one person, a committee of people, this overlord beholder that runs everything from the background?
How many levels or circles of influence are there? If you're in something that's the size of a small town, they probably don't have a whole lot of middle and upper management in this adventuring guild. It's probably just a dude.
But if you're in Sharn,
Sure.
then you might have multiple layers of that.
Right. And if you've got an adventuring guild that spans the entire continent, the larger something is, the more organization it requires.
It's going to be a big network of people.
Yep.
A lot of bureaucracy. How do you handle that? How far does their power extend?
Sure.
It's another one to think about. Could be, again, town, country, world, whatever.
Planes.
It could be. You could have a planar guild. Yeah. That would be fun, right?
Yep.
And because of their power, who do they directly influence or indirectly influence? And now, this is part of my brain that says it's more fun to come up with who they indirectly influence than who they directly influence. Like, it's easy to see that if they influence the local magistrate because they're taking jobs, but they're causing a ruckus and it's pissing him off, even though they're doing good, man, they're killing monsters, but every time they kill monsters, they destroy some property damage. Okay. Who are they indirectly messing with is much more interesting. So, for example, let's say...
I think we have two different examples. Go for it.
Okay. Let's say we could do the old classic. Go clear out that mine full of kobolds.
Sure.
They clear out the mine full of kobolds, and in the process, set the mines on fire because it's a coal mine.
Okay.
And the wizard learned firebolt.
So
happens. Indirectly, there's no longer a mine. Now, they did the job. Maybe the fires they burn enough, they burn down, right? So maybe it's,
sure.
So let's go even more indirect.
They exhaust a vein, but not the whole
mine.
load.
So
right.
Workers are working, but now it's poisoned the groundwater.
Sure.
And you've got horrible magical mutations that have occurred because of the adventurers meddling. It could be like the Murphy's Law. Every time they touch something, they do solve a problem, but as you mentioned, more mischief is created. Now, what is your example?
So for my direct/indirect, I was actually thinking, we mentioned a research like university style adventuring guild. What if the headmaster of that guild, and you jokingly said beholder, but the answer is clearly Aboleth.
Oh, yes. Because he's eating the students and gaining more knowledge?
Yes.
Sure. I could see that. That would be cool, right? Adventurers Guild, go out and find this forbidden lore, and after a while, they're elevated to upper management. But all that means is they get eaten by the Aboleth. I would be fine with that. That would be really cool, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I had a campaign where that actually happened, except it was a good thing.
Yeah.
If you recall, my monks, they were seekers of knowledge.
Yeah.
When they got to be a certain learned status and age, the Aboleth ate them so that he could preserve their memories. And it was a blessing to do that. Because
their knowledge would never be lost.
It'd never be lost. Their personality would never be lost. It'd be stored in the fishy tentacled remains of our Aboleth, who lived for thousands of years. Okay.
Going on scope.
How many members? How many employees?
And those aren't necessarily the same things.
No. Members could be
the people who are actually going out and doing things.
And then employees could be the same people, or
they could be the people who run the safe havens, the people who freaking make the beer or who
get the jobs, who say the words, the exact words, who clean up after the freaking adventurers because they've been boozing and just throwing stuff left and right.
Oh, can you imagine an adventurers guild that's literally based around like cleaners?
Yes.
Like a criminal organization, cleaners.
I just saw Nobody, the movie, and I'm thinking of like auditors.
Nice.
Yeah. Something like that. That would be, when gets real.
Like Mr. Wolf. Yeah.
You call, Mr. Wolf, you call these guys, and they're just a series of crack adventurers, and they handle it. They handle business. They're not cheap.
Yeah.
But they remove all evidence of whatever's going on. That would be awesome. And I would make my characters play monsters.
Sure.
And that is their assailant. Membership is something that we want to consider when we're doing Adventuring Guild.
Yeah. How do you is it invite only? Like,
how prestigious is it? Maybe there's some dues or some kind of obligations you have to be part of the Adventuring Guild. Maybe you have to slay a monster.
Yeah.
Or write some kind of particular passage, or you have to be part of a religion if it's a religious type of Adventuring Guild.
Sure.
There's all kinds of things that you can add, And most of the stuff shouldn't be particularly a particular obstacle for your adventurers to get in.
No, it should be stuff that your adventurers want to do. I mean, unless there's a fee, nobody wants to pay fees. But
it depends on your campaign too.
sure.
So if you've got a bunch of adventurers who are spell slingers, maybe it's this particular spell they need to know, or they need to be a certain level of casting in order to get into this adventurers guild. That ensures that the lethality doesn't immediately kill them.
Sure.
Or it could be maybe that the adventuring guild is looking for a particular type of character class. That's another thing too.
We need you to be able to cast lightning bolt. I can cast fireball. No. We need you to be able to direct the damage in a specific direction. We need to know that you know that not everything is solved by fireball.
We've got enough friendly fire. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
We literally friendly fire. We now need lightning bolt in this particular direction at the monster.
Yeah.
Or you need to cast improved magic missile of some sort. Yeah, absolutely. In addition to obligations and dues,
You've got, what are the rules for staying?
well, even is there a test or a trial to get in?
That's true.
So how do you get in? How do you stick around?
Right. If it's, say, a religious organization, it is definitely going to have rules.
Yeah.
If it's a freewheeling piratical association,
There's probably some loosely based rules.
yeah, they probably consist mostly of.
Don't kill your members.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take a job when someone else is on it.
It's literally pirate
Always-
rules,
Always collect your bounty.
right? If we're all a crew, then we're all part of the same crew.
Yeah.
And that's basically the whole of it.
I love every bit of that. How are infractions handled? So if you screw up, what happens? A little slap on the wrist or a little lop off of the wrist?
Right.
you get a slap from a hand or you lose your hand. How does one rise up the ladder for that matter?
Sure. And that's going to be based strictly on what type of organization you have. If you're of the piratical persuasion, right? It's probably going to be infamy.
Yeah. But it could also be fame and glory, depending upon your type of organization.
Sure. If it's church, it's hierarchical, right? Whatever the method through rising through the church is.
Now, one thing we don't tend to mention because it's built around your campaign is location. And adventuring guilds, I want people to consider different types of locations as well.
Sure.
Now, most of the time, happens in a city, but it could also be up on top of a mystical mountain. Could be on a pirate ship, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
Could be
in its own demiplane. You
Yeah.
have to know how to access the adventuring guild.
And how does that affect the way that they interact with other cultures, the city that they're near, other dimensions, and whatnot?
Yeah.
Finally, we've come to,
NPCs. You've got to flesh this bad boy out.
so we asked about who's in charge, but also how did the person or individuals that started the organization start it?
Right.
Why did they start it?
Sure.
And it could be this person was famous adventurer, they retired, they got fat, started up a bar, and now they hired other adventurers. Or it could be this group of adventurers came together, realized they could do more good in the world by starting an adventuring guild and get more people to help out. And so that's what they did. Or they just like cold hard cash in there.
Yeah.
It's easier to have other people bring them money than for them to go out and get it.
Sure. When you've got someone in charge, you have to know whether or not people know they're in charge. Right? What if that bartender,
Is secretly the owner?
he's,
And they're
in charge of a why not? Screw it. A multi-global.
Yeah, multi-global. You've said it. This is this humble bartender. It's got a pickaxe behind him.
Sure.
You know, looks like every other bartender from the tropes.
Right.
Yeah, wiping down a mug. And yeah, you'll have to ask the boss about that. Points upstairs where the boss always is.
Sure.
Characters don't realize it's just an attic.
Right.
There's nobody upstairs. The whole time he's rocking out, just sitting there listening to people bitch about him.
Yeah. And it's sitting there, And, oh, yeah, I'll definitely check with the boss. Just give some time to think through all of the...
Sure. Boss told me this. Who are the people the players are most likely to interact with on a regular basis?
Right.
You mentioned bartender, but also could it be the local fixer? Could it be the local priest? Could be the person that hands out the money?
Sure.
It can be anybody. It could even be the citizens that come to the adventurers when in need. Maybe they directly talk to them instead of having a middle person.
Yeah, the Adventurers Guild could literally just be a bar that you pay 5 gold to get into, and the general populace knows if you need to hire adventurers, you just go to the bar.
Yeah.
And
they
the
don't,
way the
they don't need
Adventure
an
Guild
entry.
makes money is the 5 gold entrance fee.
Yeah, they don't need to pay to get in because they've got a job for the adventurers.
Yeah.
And the bar gets a cut, and the adventurers, if they want to find work, they go pay to get in, to sit around and wait for work.
Right. And let's be honest, they're probably going to drink and eat while they're there.
That's a money-making adventure right there.
And they could have a general store full of adventuring crap while they're at it.
Sure.
And it's just
Library,
a one-stop
whatnot.
shop. Yep.
A whole bunch of shrines in the basement that people can pray to.
Sure.
There, further down is a meat cooler where they store all the dead bodies from the failed adventurers while they're waiting to get resurrected. Further down from that are all the monsters that the necromancers are saving so that when they go on adventures, they can just bring them back up so they don't have to remake them over again.
Sure. And in fact, that level has an exit outside of town.
Further down from that is the Underdark where the next adventuring guild is. It's just multiple layers.
It's just guilds all the way down.
Guilds all the way down. That's great. Who enforces the adventuring guild? Maybe you've got some bruisers.
Sure. If you've got rules, somebody's got to enforce them.
Yeah. Or is it somebody outside of the group that is enforcing the rules? Maybe the city ordinances or the country allows the guild to operate, but only with specific reasons.
Right.
And if they go outside those reasons, then guess what? You're going to pay for it.
Sure. It's funny we mentioned this. But are there cleanup crews for adventurers?
Yeah. Who cleans up the adventurer's mess? Are there tribunals for when they really mess up? Do they have their own lawyers?
Sure. I mean, you got to find out if there are rules and someone says that a rule has been broken. You have to find out whether or not the rule was actually broken.
Yeah. Are there apprentices? And are there monsters? Are there summoned creatures? Are there magical other things to help?
You could have all sorts of things working in an adventurers guild, and nobody's going to really look sideways at it.
You could have a permanent Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion, and all of the servants are just intelligent versions of
Aerial servants or unseen servants.
Or unseen servants, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool, right?
Yeah.
All right, so those are the categories, the thematics, the specifics of making an adventuring guild. And again, this is not exhaustive, but it's good enough for now.
Sure.
So let's give a couple of examples.
Absolutely. What you got?
Well, first off, talking about religion and stuff, maybe a adventuring guild devoted to Knights of Purpose. So maybe an order of paladins or an order of just knightly folk, martial types.
Sure. And they have a purpose and move towards it.
Yeah. Could be a courtly adventuring guild. How cool would that be?
Yeah.
Something you don't see every day. What else do we have?
Well, if, depending on your world, obviously, you could have guilds that are designed for dealing with a specific problem, like a Dragon Slayers Guild.
Yeah. So a monster hunting guild of some sort.
Yeah. If you live in a world where there are dragons everywhere, then somebody's got to deal with that crap.
Yeah. Someone's got to,
Because they're dangerous and they eat a lot.
someone's got to go get the dragon jerky to give to the vendors so that you can have dragon meat to eat.
Exactly.
You could have an explorers guild of some sort. So an adventuring guild devoted to exploration.
Sure. You could have a mercenary guild, which is for literally anything from doing police work to fighting wars for people.
Now, these are fairly obvious guilds for
Sure.
adventurers. But you could also have some more interesting ones, which we've come up with, which are magical investigators.
Sure. I can see that.
So there's been a crime.
Solve it.
Go down to the adventuring guild, solve it, right?
Detectives for hire. They're freaking magical Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
and Watsons. Sneakers, like literally adventurers whose job it is to test people's security.
So they B&E.
Yep.
And that could be, I know we've been going more fantasy, but it could also be like white hats.
Sure.
Hacking into using clairvoyance or hacking into surveillance as well, or some type of espionage.
Yep.
Dungeon delvers,
Sure.
because there's going to be dungeons.
Yeah.
And that could also be cavern explorers, but they're going down deep, finding stuff, bringing it back, selling it.
Or just solving the problem of this dungeon keeps every generation spits out an army of monsters and we want someone to solve it once and for all.
Yeah. Go down and kill whatever's birthing all those monsters.
Yeah.
Speaking of monsters.
Monster researchers.
Yeah. Find out what makes those monsters tick, right? And that could be either the typical dungeon monsters, or it could be infernal creatures that keep popping through that pesky gate.
Yeah.
Those damn slod that just pop up everywhere and start giving out bicycles to people and then infecting them with other slod. Or it could be those Feywild that just riotously burst forth from a tree.
Yeah.
Now there's a party. And they don't want the party because, damn it, this is a very sedate town.
Or, the hunt comes bursting out of the same tree and starts hunting everybody in town.
Yeah, that's less fun. Archaeologists, ruin specialists, and historians.
Sure. Going back to the whole university-sponsored adventuring guild.
Mm-hmm.
Bring us back everything you can of interest from these ruins.
Bringing stuff back, we also have
Retrievers.
so
Like
people
bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Or the opposite side of bounty hunters, extraction experts. People who go to places and free people, or, in the case of Shadowrun, somebody is working for one of the corporations. They want to work for a different corporation.
They need to get out.
They've got to get out.
Yeah. A lot of fun. The typical sowers of discord, which happen to be a secondary occupation for most of our players.
Sure. It's literally people who are paid to just cause trouble.
And that could be an adventuring guild, which might be sappers. So
Sure.
specifically demolitions experts, or indirectly bunch of murder hobos.
Right. But I mean, they could be being hired to discredit political opponents.
Oh, yeah.
This guy can't even keep control of his own city and he wants to run the region? Are you serious?
Yeah, that's a good point. We also have, speaking of like murder and spycraft and stuff, spies, experts of intrigue, or assassins.
Sure. And you could shop for all of those in the same place. A magic mart.
Yeah. I go out, loot tombs, sell it.
Yeah.
And finally, spin doctors. Because if you've got a bunch of bards, you've got marketing.
Exactly. And marketing sounds like you're talking about for business, but it could be used for character assassination. It could be used for all sorts of things.
This magical explosion was obviously caused by the rival nation. We need to go to war with them.
Clearly.
That wasn't necessarily a dragon attacking. That was actually a wyvern, and that's clearly the king's opponent that owns a wyvern ranch or wyvern ranch. Wyvern or reverend?
I've heard it both ways.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Tomato. But you guys get the point. Like, they can spin it in a different way. Or yeah, you talk about marketing as well. Maybe it's specifically marketing because the adventurers keep screwing stuff up and they need literally a marketing team to make sure that they don't.
They're part of the cleaning crew.
Yeah, they don't get lynched,
Yeah.
right?
You say they destroyed this building, but that keg was already destroying the building. So yes, the building is destroyed, but there's no more keg.
They clearly helped the Ankeg destroy the building so that they may rebuild. It's how it would work.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Several ideas, thematics, and hopefully some organizational structure so that you can create an adventuring guild for your campaign or your story.
Yep. And once again, use only the bits you need.
Leave the rest. Did we miss something? Write to us. info@goblinscorner.com or you can reach me, Eric at goblinscorner.com, or
Me, Matt at goblinscorner.com.
we're on all of the things. Here are some things which we are on.
Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Twitch at Goblins Corner.
Instagram at The Goblins Corner.
You like our show? Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player, YouTube, or Twitch.
Click that 5 stars, give us a review on iTunes, Podchaser, or YouTube. It boosts our show, feeds the mighty algorithm so that we might disperse to more masses and teach more people how to have fun with stories, play games.
Indeed.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Once again, my name is Eric,
And I'm Matt.
and we'll see you next time.
Good night, folks.
The Goblins Corner has been written and produced by Eric Holden.
And Matt Staples.
D20 did our music.
And this is, in fact, a subterranean production.
Your voice is so low.